The reason why people are on the streets isn't just some elusive housing or market phenomenon. It's also because we've chosen not to build.
Well, AOC could not be more right about that. We are in the middle of a housing crisis, and admittedly, it, like most issues when you actually think about them, is multifaceted. It has a lot of different things that we've been doing wrong that we could potentially do, but the housing supply is an absolutely massive issue, and we're going to put it in numeric terms for you. Take a look at this. The median listing price for properties hit a record $392,000 last month. That's according to Realtor.com. That's 13% higher than just 1 year ago, 27% higher from February 2020, right before the initial 3 days of lockdown we had, right before the pandemic hit. Now, that's listing prices. That isn't necessarily what they sell for, but apparently the median home last month sold for almost $364,000. So a close number to that listing price. That is 16% higher than a year earlier. And why is it that the houses are getting so expensive? Well, it's what AOC was saying. We don't have the supply. Right now, there are only about 250,000, that is 250,000 homes currently for sale across the entire country that are considered affordable for households with between 75,000 and 100,000 in annual income. That is a decline from about 3 times as many homes for that same income category before. Bear in mind, a lot of people not in as good economic shape as they were back then. So both sides of this equation have been even more shifted in a bad situation. Let's acknowledge 75,000 to 100,000 in annual income is not nothing. Like, not everybody even makes that. And you have very limited supply, particularly in certain markets. Now, Brett, I know you've experienced this market stuff in the past few years. People thought it might be just a blip, but no, these housing prices are still at historic levels.
Yeah, this is for housing, homelessness, all the issues that are going to be talked about in this category are among the more difficult ones to solve because, you have to convince people in various neighborhoods to change what their neighborhood looks like. And so they just don't want to. And a lot of these people that would have to abide by various zoning laws and all kinds of things, they put their entire life savings into it.
Yeah.
And so the alternative to that is left in the hands of giant developers. And those giant developers are going to do what? What would they rather do? Would they rather take all that capital and invest it in these giant forward-looking, like the same they extrapolate their financial situation out as long as a lumber company does regrowing a forest? Like, that is how long out in advance they look at it. What would they rather do? Build these things and rent them out, or build these houses and sell them? Well, frequently, if they're looking that far into the future in a volatile housing market, they're going to build it and then rent it out. So that reduces volume. So much pressure is on reducing the available volume of houses. And for a year straight, pretty much, they've been saying this is all going to be okay. We're kind of past it, but no one really knows. And all of these initiatives are going to always get fought by local city councils if they come from a top-down situation, because no city council is going to want to change the look of their community, and they're going to get fought by they're going to be fought by a lot of different people.
Yeah, I mean, that reminder, we have the situation that Dave Chappelle sort of, from being involved, elevated to a national level. That's sort of what we're talking about here. I don't know. Like, you're totally right. It is incredibly complex. That's why it's good that we have some politicians like AOC, who previously has put forward a comprehensive housing plan. Of course, we live in a time where the Democrats have decided they're not going to pass literally anything, so that's awesome. But we need to get more homes out to drive down the price. The price of new construction is higher too because of supply chain problems. Like, literally just wood is more expensive in addition to other supplies too. So that's an issue. But like, a lot of people might not be in the process of trying to buy a home or even thinking about it soon, which is part of the problem, is that they've been sort of raised to not believe that that's an option. I want to remind everyone, it wasn't like a month before the pandemic everyone was just routinely turning to their friend and saying, isn't it easy to get a home these days? Isn't like the American dream, having the home and the picket fence, isn't that so achievable right now? We already were making jokes about how difficult it was. It's 26% harder now, and that's just on the supply end. If you've lost your job, if you've lost your savings during the pandemic, it's even more difficult. And this isn't a thing that a lot of national politicians are talking about. I don't understand it. It's one of the most core economic things for millions of Americans, and it's largely going undiscussed, let alone unsolved. Final thoughts, Brett.
Final thoughts is the other thing that'll happen is people find loopholes to get around these new initiatives, and I don't know. It's creating some fascinating changes in what America looks like. And also the single family home is not actually the solution to the housing crisis, the dual zone lot. And in California, and I don't know if it's Southern California or Los Angeles or the entire state, you're just not allowed to build another new single family home. Yes. So there will be no house with a picket fence. It'll be a triplex with a picket fence in the homeowners association, for better or for worse. And then the other effect is you'll have people that own homes that they bought for very little in a previous housing environment in more densely populated areas in places like California and New York, who will sell them and then move to less densely populated places. Those are typically folks who can afford to do so because they do have remote work and more flexibility. They're not tied to a specific industry in their region. They'll go and raise the housing prices in that other region, and another upward effect, pressure on the housing market will be foreign investors, large venture capital companies that are looking to transform from an ownership to a rental economy.
Definitely, yeah, that's one of the huge pressures on this. And thankfully, at least here at TYT, we've been talking about that a lot for years now. I do want to also remind you that AOC is not just talking about housing there and the issues of the housing supply. She's talking about how that pressure, the inability to afford homes and rent, drives people onto the streets. Well, here in California, they've got a big problem to solve. How are they going about it? Well, Governor Gavin Newsom has proposed a court program that would force unhoused people with severe mental illnesses and addiction disorders into treatment. The plan would create a so-called care court, requiring people with serious mental health challenges such as schizophrenia to accept treatment while also mandating the counties provide services. So that the ending, not so bad. Providing services. Certainly the funding should be there because we've had multiple ballot initiatives to generate money here in California. If the people in this care court do not go through the forced treatment, they can be placed into conservatorships, which we are all, as was pointed out in our production meeting, we're all experts on that now, thanks to Britney Spears. So no more need be said. As of January 2020, by the way, here in California, there were 150,000 people considered to be homeless. That was January 2020. I'm gonna guess that the number will be higher now rather than lower as a result of the pandemic and economic crisis that we've been through. So super brief thoughts, Brett.
Yeah, there's it's just a question of what kind of conversation people wanna have. Do they wanna have a conversation about solving the greater problem, or do they have specific politically expedient problems that they think they can successfully message around to get some kind of political points? Frequently, ideally, the pressure that would result in a political win has its roots in solving a problem that would make the world better. But care courts are an attempt to get people to get treatment, but you can't will that into effectiveness. It ends up just being a way to get people off the street so that folks who otherwise are more accepted in society can have a better walk to the grocery store, which is a valid concern, but you still don't find an effective result by forcing people to get treatment. Statistically, it just doesn't work out if you force them. And that's a problem. I wish you could force people to get better, but we still need to find a solution, and we haven't.
Yeah. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.